I made this clip to try and demonstrate the hill climbing abilities of the Wisper 905 Torque electric bike. I've only owned the bike for just over a week and have not yet had the chance to climb any of the hills around where I live, so this was the first test. The ride was an hour and 20 minutes long, and with the first proper hill just under 7 miles into the ride, I have trimmed the footage and sped some of it up. So here's the first part of the ride to the first proper hill, speeded up so you don't get bored. This first stint, the first climb on the ride, lasts around 2 minutes, so please stick with it. So here we are, we're now approaching the first hill. Before going up, we go down, which gives me the chance to not only see how fast I can get the Wisper 905 Torque to go, but also gives me a chance to build up a little bit of momentum to get up the other side. As you can see, they're doing roadworks here. It's the NDR now coming through. Fantastic. Anyway, back to the ride. The speed gradually starts to tail off as the gradient increases, which is obviously to be expected. Given this bike is 24 kilos, the speed scrubs off fairly quickly. And then it's time to get my legs going and actually start pushing up the hill. As you can see, the speed is now just over 15 miles an hour, and this is where the motor kicks in. On a normal unassisted bike, I'd probably be doing about 10 miles an hour now. And whilst it looks like we're close to the top of the hill, there's still a way to go yet. But as you can see, the Wisper 905 Torque is pushing me along at 15 miles an hour, which is pretty damn good. This hill is actually quite relentless and zaps your energy, and just as you think you reach the top, there's a tiny little bit extra to go over. So here we go, still doing 15 miles an hour. I haven't dropped below that yet. That's thanks to the 905 Torque's engine. The weather conditions aren't too bad. There's a slight headwind, but nothing too major, which is good. And we're now getting close to the summit of the hill. Still pushing, although at this point I'm really not breaking out into a sweat. If I was on an unassisted bike, I would be. And there we go. Yep, we are now at the summit of the hill. The road now is starting to go flat again, and the speed is going to start to increase as my legs spin round. The next hill, or series of hills, has always been my nemesis, and I've always found them hard work, even when I was at my fittest. The section comprises a quick downhill section, followed by a short and very steep incline, followed by a short decline, which is the opportunity for a breather, followed by a grueling gradual incline that zaps your energy. I knew the electric bike was going to make this section easier. It was just a question of how much easier. Well, it would soon be time to find out. So here we are now coming up to hill number 2. This one is particularly nasty. Once again, it is downhill into a dip before seeing what we're confronted with. This hill doesn't look that steep on the go or with the GoPro, but trust me, it is. On an unassisted bike, I would be doing, again, 8-9 miles an hour now, and I would be puffing like a good one. With the Wisper, the motor just pulled me up, and once again, as you can see, the speed hasn't dropped below 15 miles an hour. Once you reach to the top of this hill, usually I'm close to death, there is a tiny bit of flat for a breather before getting ready for the next one. With the Wisper, there was no need to have a breather, and by the time I got to the top, I was a little out of breath, which is to be expected given my current levels of fitness, and my legs did ache a little bit, but it really wasn't that bad. So here we are. This is the tiny bit of flat for the breather, which I didn't need. And there's another tiny little downhill section here. Again, gives me the chance to build up some momentum to get back up the other side. And the gradient starts to climb. This hill is a bit of a pain in that it is long. It's not particularly steep, but it is very deceiving. You're open to the elements climbing up this hill, and there's quite often a headwind, which makes it even more difficult. Today there is a slight wind, but it's really not that bad. As you can see, the speed is still just over 15 miles an hour. My legs are spinning. They do burn a little bit, which is to be expected, but they're not half as bad as they would be if I was on an unassisted bike. I've got to say, the Wisper torque made this hill very, very easy. And still up we go. By this point, I'm usually ready to pull into the side and have a quick breather, but on the Wisper, I didn't feel the need to at all. Even though the Wisper is an electric bike, you still have to put in the energy and use your legs a little, as you can see, which is why I'm a little bit wobbly, and also my body's moving because the camera's mounted to a chest mount. And we are now getting close to the summit of the hill. At this point you think, definitely there, and then all of a sudden there's that tiny little bit which is here right up to the crest. Ooh. And then over the crest and the downhill section again for a bit of a breather and a chance to let the bike stretch its legs and see what speed we can get out of it. Normally I'll be racing down this hill about 17-18 miles an hour, but then I'd be pedalling like Billy O2. So it's on to the next Nemesis hill on this route. There are some ups and downs along the way, but none of them are too bad. That said, if there is a headwind they can be quite a challenge. If the traffic isn't on your side, the next nasty climb commences with a standing start. If the traffic is on your side, you can have a rolling start, however it won't be a fast one. The hill I'm heading towards is another short and steep one, and getting up it with as little effort as possible on a standard push bike requires using the right gear, which never seems to happen. With the torque motor it shouldn't matter what gear I'm in, as the power should just kick in when I put pressure on the pedals. It'll be interesting to see just how well the Wisper 905 performs. And this is the last hill I want to show you on my ride. This short steep hill is usually a bit of a pain, but not on the Wisper. It made it so easy it was laughable. I'm impressed. The Wisper 905 Talk is a great hill climb.